A big Tuesday to you, and thank you for tuning in to lcpioneers.com live, presented by PioStream. As we move into our 13th week of shows, keeping you connected with student athletes, coaches, alumni, and members from the Lewis and Clark College community, Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time, and archived for watching on demand thanks to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/lcpios. Hello, I am Ryan Goff. I am the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark, the Pioneers, an NCAA Division III institution out of Portland, Oregon. We compete in the Northwest Conference, so against institutions from throughout Northwest Oregon and the state of Washington, and with over 430 institutions nationwide via NCAA Division III opportunities for our student athletes to compete on a national scale and overseas study too. A big part of the experience at Lewis and Clark, the college sporting a very robust overseas study program too. So it's been fun to also talk about those stories with the guests that we've had dating back to the last day of March, if you can believe it or not. So we appreciate you joining us on Facebook Live. Excited to talk to our guest today, Ben Welker. He's a rising senior for men's golf. I will have a chance to talk to him about his uh, extraordinary path to becoming a student athlete at Lewis and Clark, because he was at the college, but it wasn't until his sophomore year that he was a member of one of our intercollegiate teams. So we'll talk to him about that path. Also, maybe kind of dip our toe in the NBA water too, being in Portland with the home of the Trailblazers. He's a big Sacramento Kings fan, so we'll get his take on everything that's happened with the NBA as well. Always fun to chat with him. We're gonna have that in just a moment. Invite you to ask questions in our Facebook Live comments. You can email us. Always, if you want to ask a question for one of our guests, you can do so ahead of time. Or if you have a suggestion for a guest, sports@lclark.edu is a great way to get a hold of us as well. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram on our social media outlets. Those are LC Pioneers as well for our handles on Instagram and Twitter. Big news out of the cross country track and field world. Invite you to go to lcpioneers.com. Sean Richardson, a recently graduated senior for the Pioneers, a national qualifier for cross country this past season, named to the COSIDA Academic All-America team. He is the first Lewis and Clark student athlete to earn the honor since 2002. He's only the fourth ever. Dan Jones, Laura Pazzano, able to get that back in the last century, and then Neil Weir rather was the last one um, to get that recognition back in 2002. We had him on the show earlier in the run of lcpioneers.com live. But you look at Sean, he was the latest Del Smith Scholar Athlete of the Year from a men's team at the 2019 Excellence in Lewis and Clark's Year of Sports. Broke some indoor records this past indoor track and field season. Attempted to qualify for the indoor national championships and had the fourth fastest time ever in Lewis and Clark history. So big congratulations to Sean getting that recognition as a COSIDA Academic All-America third team selection. And he was just one of three student athletes in the cross country world from the West region to get that selection. That's some pretty big stuff for Sean, as he's on to some great things in the future for sure. Also, continuing to let everyone know about our incoming student athletes. You can follow the hashtag NewPios20, our Facebook page. We've been posting photo albums. Our most recent announcement was last week with baseball. We had scheduled softball to go out this weekend. Those are going to come out later today and or tomorrow. But excited to keep announcing. Volleyball has been announced already. We've also had women's soccer too. So be sure to check that out, lcpioneers.com. So with all that said, let's bring in our guest for today on lcpioneers.com live. A rising senior for men's golf joining us. He's Ben Welker, and we appreciate you taking the time from the Sacramento area. Hey, Ben, thanks so much for taking some time to talk to us. We love having a lot of our teams on to get a chance to get to know you, because a lot of times, too, when spring sports get so hectic, we have so many teams competing at the same time, it's hard to give you all the coverage that you deserve. So excited to talk to golf today. Um, Kind of give us an idea how you got to Lewis and Clark. Kind of what was your path when you were choosing a college?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. So my path was different than most, I would say, student athletes at Lewis and Clark, or really any school. So I played baseball coming out of high school, and how I found Lewis and Clark was, recruiting trips, camps. Fell in love with the campus, the school, the environment, everything the school had to offer. So, for me, it was Lewis and Clark in baseball. But, as the year went on, I was already starting to kind of fade out of baseball. I wasn't kind of, in love with it, at that time anymore. And I was like, do I really want to, sacrifice maybe some cool opportunities in the classroom to play baseball? And I made that decision coming up, freshman year to, not play baseball anymore and, move on to just being a student. But, I quickly realized that, I've played sports my entire life since I was like 4 or 5, and like I needed to be active and, in the weight room and playing competitively. And I had been playing golf a lot, and I was like, you know what, let's give something new a shot. I love playing golf. I'd never played competitively before. So for me, Lewis and Clark was able to offer that. Um, and, I was lucky that I go to a school that, welcomed me in the program. And James is one of the best people, not just in the athletic department, but on campus. So he was so welcoming. And, that's kind of how I became a golfer at Lewis and Clark. So, mm-hmm. Yeah. I played golf growing up too, so I kind of already had the swing mechanics, and I mean, a lot of it requires the same plane in the sense of where your hands go and where everything finishes, and like your natural stance. So for me, there wasn't a whole lot of an adjustment, but playing at a competitive level, you quickly realize that like I needed a lot of work on my swing. So for me, being able to work with our great coaches and Aaron, we call them AB and James, and them work with me in the sim room on campus, and take videos at the range. Just start to work on the small little things that my swing needed. It's quickly made me a much better golfer, and I mean the stuff that we have on campus to us to help each one of our players is amazing.
So let's talk about this past year. That was your second with the team, as you're going into your
Mm-hmm.
senior year academically, but now two
Mm-hmm.
years completed with the golf team.
Yeah.
What's it been like so far to be a member of the team, but certainly kind of highlight, this past spring with the season getting cut short because of the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah. So I came in the fall of my sophomore year, and we had such an amazing senior class that year. I mean, you've talked to Jacob Bell, just all those guys. Robert Wang. Like I came into such a welcoming and strong environment, and I felt like I made a connection with everyone immediately. But yeah, I mean, for Annika, our one senior on the girls team, it was devastating this spring. To have such high expectations going into your last season, your last semester at school, and then all of a sudden, just it felt like in a blink of an eye, everything just kind of went away and happened, and there was nothing we can do. It was out of our control. I mean, we were lucky to be able to get one tournament in, but again, like we had a couple of trips coming up to the Seattle area, out to Spokane, so we were all sad that we weren't able to experience this last semester with her, and um, it was just really tough for everyone.
Ben Welker joining us on lcpioneers.com live, a member of the men's golf team, rising senior for that program. Coach Yen, he is one of those guys that is adjacent to my office in the Zembauer
Yep.
Swimming Pavilion. I've never seen him come in and look like, James, what's wrong? Why isn't your day going well? He always seems to have a high motor, high tempo. What's it like to compete and maybe even in a way get mentored by a guy like that?
Oh, he's amazing. Like I said, like he's just one of the best people that we have on the campus at Lewis and Clark. You know, he's so positive, and we play some very tough golf in the fall and in the spring where it's just wet and rainy and your shoes are soaked and you've been out there for 4 hours and it hasn't let up, and you get down on yourself and you get tired, but you see him out there with a big smile on his face. He's probably more wet than you, and you're just like, all right, like I'm just playing a little golf right now, and like we're gonna have fun. And he always just brings those positive, vibe and energy. Especially when this, school gets tough and the seasons, you're kind of in that grind where you're doing, 2 or 3 hours, a day, whether it's in the weight room and then going out to practice. Like he's always there to give you a little pick me up, and he takes really good care of us, in the classroom, off the course. Like he's always there for us. So our program, our school is super lucky to have him around.
And we're excited to talk to him tomorrow on lcpioneers.com live, a golf heavy week on week 13 of the show. Academically, psychology major. I always talk to rising seniors because it always seems like that junior year gets a lot of the either requirements or some of the fun
Mhm.
classes out. When you look back at your first 3 years at Lewis and Clark academically, any specific highlights, whether it's maybe a class or a professor that's really stuck out to you?
Yeah, so I came in, I wanted to be a psych major, and I'm glad that I was able to stay that route. One of the reasons is because of my advisor, Jenny LaBounty. I mean, she has always been such a positive person on campus. She's always there to talk to you about whether it's future career plans or like what's going on in the class or where you might need a little bit of help. So she has kind of been, my like psych mom in a way. She's always been there to help me. Um, and with everything that happened this spring, I mean, she was so understanding and caring as to like everyone has a different situation going on. We're all trying to get home. We're all trying to, quarantine, self isolate, and try to finish the semester as best we can. And she was one of those people that if it wasn't related to psych or anything, you could just ask a question or was always accommodating to what you needed. And yeah, she's been such an amazing person to get to know on campus.
So transitioning now into your senior year,
Mm-hmm.
what's kind of ahead for you in terms of the classes you still have left, but also certainly, aspirations? Where do you see yourself going post graduation?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's just a couple more requirements you need to hit, and you're done. And that's kind of weird, having to pick my classes now for the rest, for my senior year this semester. It's just kind of like, what do I need? And for me, it's just a couple of psych classes and just a couple more gen eds, and it's it's done. It's crazy, but yeah, I mean, for me right now, I'm starting to look at grad school, like master's programs. I want to be a school psych. I want to, work in school districts and, maybe like elementary or middle schools and not necessarily have a classroom, but, be able to be a resource for teachers and students. So, like, if a kid has a disability like dyslexia, I'm able to write accommodations for them in the classroom to make sure that their experience in school is better and, fits them more. Um, and, yeah, I think that's just kind of the plan right now. So,
He's Ben Welker joining us on lcpioneers.com live. We are Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 Pacific time, talking to student athletes, coaches, alumni, and members of the Lewis and Clark College community. Ben's out of Roseville, California, and a psychology major. What's the master's or graduate school search like? I mean, it seems like from going and searching for undergraduate programs is difficult enough. But I'm
mhm.
curious, while you're still going to school, you're a student athlete, rigorous academic requirements at Lewis and Clark. What's the graduate program search like? Either whether you've already experienced it or what you know is ahead.
Yeah, so it's nice now because I've already done it for undergrad, so I kind of have an idea of what the process might look like. I'm applying to schools back here in California, whether that's here in like the Northern California area, like Sacramento and the Bay Area, or like in Southern California, LA, San Diego, stuff like that. So that's kind of the process right now. It's just kind of figuring out what programs fit what I want. If it's more of like a research based program or like a more arts program in the sense that you're in the classroom more, you're not necessarily, you know, writing papers on theories and stuff like that. So just trying to balance out those and then looking at, you know, uh, what they require that you have coming into the program. So if it's like a certain amount of hours in the school or certain classes that you have to take prior to attending that school, it's just trying to figure out, okay, what do I need here? What do I need here? And then the applications are all kind of the same in the sense, you have to write a paper and stuff like that. And some might ask for letters of rec. So it's just, trying to put together the best, best me on paper, but also they do interviews too, which I find kind of interesting. So being able to talk in person with these people too, so kind of like a job interview. So it's definitely different, but again, like there's a comfort level having done it before once and having success doing it that I can do it again.
So, what is it about working with kids that really
Mhm.
inspires you? Why was that something that was important for you?
Yeah, so my mom's a school teacher. She is a currently an elementary school teacher. So I've always, my mom, I always go to her classroom. I'm always, working with kids. And like the first couple of jobs I had, whether it was in high school or out of high school and college, were always like in schools or doing like camps, for kids, whether they're baseball or basketball or stuff like that. So for me, I've always been drawn to like being able to make a difference in like a young person's life, and like whether that's being a coach or a teacher, that's kind of like where I want to shift my focus after undergrad, and that's my mom's my role model in that. So
Well, I think no more than ever in the midst of a pandemic where
mm,
parents like myself are homeschooling, we have more appreciation, hopefully, now than ever for teachers and educators and all that you do to affect young people's lives. So, with you going into that and with your mom, certainly, we appreciate that.
thank
I
you.
think essential is certainly a key word that we should throw out more often for educators.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
I'm going to ask you about the best moment as a member of the golf team in just a little
Hmm.
bit, but I got to let you have a chance to talk about Sacramento Kings basketball, especially with Lewis and Clark being in Portland, big
Oh yeah.
Trailblazers roots, and with the NBA possibly restarting here shortly at a
Yeah.
compound at Walt Disney World. How you feeling about the Kings and some of the stuff that they've been doing to work back to where
Hmm.
they were earlier in the century?
Oh yeah. I mean, since I've been growing up, all I can remember is losing, being a Kings fan. So it's always been a tough road. But yeah, I mean, this year obviously is such a weird year for everything, and at least the Kings, and the Trailblazers being invited to go to Orlando to be able to play. Hopefully, at the end of July, we'll see basketball again. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, the last Kings game I saw was up in Portland, which was before coronavirus hit. So my Kings beat Portland by 20, I think, plus. So that was kind of fun. So hopefully they'll be able to continue to play good basketball like that against them coming up at the end of July, and maybe make a little playoff push, because I haven't seen them in the playoffs. Honestly don't remember ever seeing them in the playoffs. So it's been a while for Kings fans and me.
Yeah, I remember as a Lakers supporter, only a
Ooh,
supporter, not a fan, so I'm
ooh,
not going to go
uh
toe
oh,
to toe with you, but I remember
uh
the
oh.
Kings with Bibby and Weber and how tough
Oh
they
yeah.
were, certainly in the 2000s, early part of
Mm-hmm.
the century. That Golden One Center, though, is that all it's cracked up to be? Nice
Oh,
arena.
it's yeah. I mean, it's changed. The downtown area. I mean, we call it the old barn Arco Arena. So I mean, to be able to play in this state of the art new arena, I mean, it's gorgeous. Hopefully someday Sacramento will be able to host an All Star game. There's work, so the country can see more of what Sacramento has to offer. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the best stadiums I've ever been to, and I've been to plenty across the country. I've been lucky enough. So not being biased here, I promise.
Not at all, not at all. All right, you got to hit us with best moment that stands out in terms of being a member of the golf program and getting to travel a lot of the times with the women's team too. What stands
Yep.
out as a key highlight so far?
So one travel, the first time I went on a road trip with them, it was just fun to hang out with everyone. I mean, I had never been, up to Tacoma before. So it was kind of cool to see a different area, play at a different, I had played golf in Washington before. So to be able to travel up there and hang out with all, the guys and the girls, and be able to just kind of bond over meals and stuff like that, and play, really nice golf course in a place I probably would have never played before is awesome. But I would say for me personally, this year would probably be the Fall Classic. I wasn't quite sure going into the week, whether or not I'd be playing, and then I kind of get the nod later in the week, right before the tournament. So it was kind of like, okay, like let's go play, and I played really well, and that was probably like where I started to put everything together from like all the hard work, finally like starting to hit more fairways, being consistent with my irons, my putter was on fire. So it was just nice to be able to like start to see, all the work that I've been doing start to pay off on a competitive stage. So probably for me, that was, personally my favorite moment playing golf so far, Lewis and Clark.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to having more moments sooner than later.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
let's hope
everything
so.
goes according to plan and getting everyone on campus. But we certainly
Mhm.
appreciate you taking the time to join us, and best of luck entering into your senior year.
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Ben Welker of Men's Golf joining us on lcpioneers.com. Yeah, fun conversation with him, and what is going to be end up being a golf heavy week too, because we're going to have James Jen, his head coach, on tomorrow's edition of the program. But I was telling Ben before we got on the air that our student athletes, we asked them if it's okay for us to follow them on Twitter and or Instagram, and every once in a while, doing the social media side of the job, scrolling through the Twitter feed, I'll see a Kings tweet, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was Ben. So we talked a little bit about that. Wanted to give him a chance to talk about the Kings, and it's honestly one of those moments where I just realized how 37 years old I am. Talking about the earlier part of the decade to a guy like Ben who wasn't around in '99 when the Kings were probably at their peak, maybe into the early part when he was a baby. So that's kind of crazy to think about. That's just how old I am. So there's your realization for the day. That was a fun conversation. Big thanks to Ben. And like I said, tomorrow we'll have James Jen on the program. He's the head coach of the men's and women's golf programs at Lewis and Clark, and our last spring head coach to come on the program too. So have him have a chance to talk about Annika Klunk, who we also have had an interview with. You can find all of our past interviews, youtube.com/lcpios. And then on Thursday, Aiden Verba Hamilton will join us. He is a rising senior for both football and men's track and field. And we'll spend some time with Aiden talking about the topic of systemic racism and how that is something that is not only an issue throughout the country and something that we're going to continue having conversations about on this program, but specific to education and how education and institutions play a role in systemic racism. Also going to talk to him about his music career so far. He's been active as a musician, a marketer, a producer, all sorts of stuff, even with his cousin and teammate Xavier Tharp. So it's going to be a very enlightening and I hope enjoyable conversation on Thursday because that music topic is definitely something I would love to talk to Aiden about for a full 15 minutes, but also want to have him as one of our students of color, one of our student athletes of color on campus, have an opportunity on our platform to have his voice heard, and excited to talk to him about that. And then Valerie White is coming on the program as well. She's the ombuds person for Lewis and Clark. And this is a confidential opportunity for all students, faculty, and staff at Lewis and Clark to go into Valerie's office and have someone who can help them kind of guide through different conflicts and issues that you might be experiencing by yourself or with someone else on campus. And it's really nice to have a neutral party involved, and that's the service that Valerie provides. So talking to her about what her office does for Lewis and Clark and the community as a whole. So pretty excited about the rest of our shows this week too, and started off nicely with Ben Welker today on lcpioneers.com live. So until we talk to you again tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, big thanks to Ben Welker for joining us. Big thanks to you for watching. I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks for having fun with us. We will talk to you again soon for more lcpioneers.com live. We are on the web at lcpioneers.com live and archived on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/lcpios. Until tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.
Hi, I'm Nick Lombardi. Something I've learned at Winterim this year is how to communicate a vision.
My biggest takeaway from Winterim is probably the networking. Getting to talk to everybody, connect with people for the future is one of the most valuable things, and I did Winterim last year, came back for more this year.
I think a way in which my liberal arts education has really helped me and my group formulate our ideas is that concept of critical thinking and having many different backgrounds. Me being an econ major and my two group mates being chemistry majors, we really get that well-rounded background, well-rounded ideas.
I think overall it's absolutely worth doing. You find yourself not only being more prepared for, say, this next semester, on top of being more prepared for life in general.
I think everyone should take intro to chemistry because the chemistry department here is phenomenal. Everyone I've known has had a good experience with everyone in that department, so I think it's a worthwhile course to take.
What is one class that everyone should take at Lewis and Clark? I really enjoyed education in a complex world. You kind of get to discuss all the issues that exist within education today, and you get to kind of explore that by going to classrooms firsthand and volunteering with children, which I thought was a really wonderful experience.
One class that everybody should take at Lewis and Clark is anything with Kundai-Chirindo. I think he definitely changed how I thought about rhetoric and media studies and just education in general.
For me, it was international affairs, just intro to international affairs, because I think it really gives a good perspective on important issues around the world.